2019, and with these warm greetings, we're back with Investors Hangout, brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Funds and Value Research. And with me, as always, is the CEO of Value Research, Dhirendra Kumar. Dhirendra, welcome.
Thank you.
India has a growth story, we all know that, and the long-term trend tells us that we have outperformed. In this scenario, it makes sense for Indian investor to invest in international equities. Dhiren, what is the case of international investing, if you could elaborate on that?
Yeah, the case for international investing is very straightforward. It should further what we have been saying all these years: diversify, invest in equity, and invest in high quality companies. And on two fronts, the case for investing abroad actually becomes compelling. Some of the companies that you can invest in, we don't have those many numbers of global leaders. If you look at the kind of companies whose goods or services we avail today, think of your iPhone, or think of the Gmail, or think of the YouTube, or think of the Facebook, or think of the Amazon, or think of these are companies which are available. They are investment avenues too. They are global companies. They are very competitive companies. Look at Microsoft. Everybody using a computer has to give some tax. It's almost like a tax because we don't have a substitute. The kind of competitive advantages some of these companies have, simply the network effect, you just can't do without them. And so might as well own them. And if you want to own them, then you have to invest abroad, because we don't have companies of that scale, that stature. We have good companies here, the investable universe of good companies in India, but not of that kind. So superior diversification and some great companies, some great investment avenues. These are two reasons. Besides that, there are a lot of other technical things. One is that rupee will keep depreciating. So if you take your 100 rupee today, and if you take it back 5 years from now, it would have anyway grown by 3-4%. Given that rupee will depreciate over time, because of the interest rate differential in different economies, and that interest rate differential is likely to prevail because we are a growth economy, and inflation in India will remain higher. So, if inflation is going to remain higher than those economies, then interest rates has to be higher to compensate for inflation-adjusted fixed income return. So, that's the dynamics of it. That's the macro picture. So, superior diversification, compelling great investment avenues. These are the two primary reasons why one should be investing abroad.
So in 2019, you are recommending that we should diversify into international?
No, it is not a change of heart. It is not a 2008-19 event. We have been saying it for nearly a decade, ever since it became possible for Indians to invest abroad. There are different forms in which you can invest. In the Indian investors got the first chance to invest, and today we find that the investment avenues made available by the way Indians can actually invest. There are multiple ways in which investors can invest. It has become convenient. The choices are clear. It wasn't so before. So. That has always been the thought, but Indian investors were first, not even investing in Indian equity, forget about international investing abroad. So now we have come to a stage where, it should be done better, and there is a compelling case for it. In fact, 2018, the one fund which I did best, or the fund which has given the best return, happens to be all the US opportunity fund, or the US domicile funds, or the Nasdaq 100, which was the best performing fund of 2018.
So what I hear is that there is,
but this thought is not because of the great performance of 2018.
Okay.
It should always have been there.
Okay. So what I hear, as I was saying, is there's still place for international diversification in an Indian investor's portfolio. Is that my assumption correct?
Yes, absolutely. One should diversify, and international diversification is very much a part of it. As we keep saying that invest in a fund which is multi-cap, that is a mainstay. If you have some more money to invest, then don't invest all your money in one fund company, entrust all your money one fund manager.
Okay.
Spread it over 3-4 of them. So and at the very basic stage, invest across asset classes. When we say balanced fund, we are telling somebody that you are investing in equity and fixed income at the same time.
Yeah.
So as an extension of this, because the reason for the diversification, that we have our jobs here, and everything in the economy is linked to us. So at least have a part of your money which is not linked to this economy.
Okay. Then this takes me to the next question, and that is, how can I make it happen? How can I invest abroad?
Many ways of doing it, and there are simpler ways, there are complex ways, there are ways for the knowledgeable. Every Indian can invest abroad directly in stocks or in any market, and the limit is every citizen is allowed to invest $200,000 equivalent, $2 lakh equivalent every year, which is quite a lot of money. So you can invest, and there are brokers available today where you can open a brokerage account and start investing in Apple, Google, Amazon, all of that, and low-cost broker. They charge a fixed fee for buying any amount of, making any amount of investment. So that's one, more complex, meant for the knowledgeable. If you want to do it in a simpler way, there are open-end funds available to Indian investors, in which you invest, and they invest in those stocks there.
Okay.
That's a simpler one. Then there is a third way. There are Indian funds which invest a part of their money in internationally. So they are the simpler one. You are getting all the benefits of investing in Indian equity up to 65%, and a third of the money is invested abroad.
Yeah. Okay. So, any recommendations?
No, I would like to.
I will put you on the spot on
Investor
that,
Hangout is a vehicle where we hold our recommendations. We are not supposed to, and we are not allowed to.
Okay, I'll withdraw this question then. Okay, you've told us how to invest. Now tell me, are there any ground rules to international investing that one must follow?
Yes. Keep off the nonsense. And there are many international funds available to Indian investors which are very opportunistic. They are almost like sector funds. Somebody will tell you that is an agriculture fund or it's a Brazil real estate fund. Your objective should be very simple. A fund which is investing in great companies, and you are investing in that fund to gain superior diversification.
Right.
So anything which is narrow, anything which is opportunistic, anything which looks tactical, keep away from that. Because most of the time those funds are launched because they had a good run in recent past and the fund company is trying to leverage on that. Your goals should be very straightforward. Have your long-term orientation, do your SIP, and make sure that you understand broadly. You don't have to understand too much. So I think a fund which will get you good diversification of either a fund which is investing all over, or even a US opportunity. We have quite a large number of funds which invest in the US market. So it might look like a US fund, looks like a narrow fund, but I don't think the companies domiciled in the US are US funds. Because the basic objective of diversification, which I look forward to, that those companies which are domiciled there, they're actually global companies.
Nice.
They derive only 35 to 40% of their revenue from the US, from the local domestic market, and rest of the revenue actually, and for many of the technology companies, many of the leading technology companies, the revenue stream from other markets could be even higher, or most of the growth might be happening elsewhere. So they are you are getting global diversification. You are on the forefront of the big movement or the big shift that is happening in the economy, or has been underway over the last 5-7 years. And we see a big, we don't see a competitive environment there. We have seen something which has happened in the recent past, that a big company emerges and it takes the whole of the market. When you look at the operating system, Microsoft rules it, and we don't have a number two.
Okay.
When you look at Google services, you don't have a number two. You have, and that becomes a mainstay. When you look at the Amazon, I'm not talking of the e-commerce business, but look at the AWS services. The way it has been scaled up, it turns out to be even a small company like Value Research. Spends substantial amount of money on technology services, getting the servers, the AWS, Amazon Web Services, and that becomes such a scaled up and a non-replicable business because of the advantages that I don't see those, those companies have great moats, great competitive advantages, and shareholders stand to benefit. And that is why we see those phenomenal growth. So I would say that look at US funds as not as a narrow geographic focused fund, but a global fund, a fund of companies which are very well spread.
So this sounds very optimistic to me and sounds as though it's quite lucrative. So should my portfolio consist 50% of the international funds or 50, or would you say that it should be 80-20 ratio? Or is there anything like that?
There is no thumb rule.
No thumb rule. Okay.
But if I had the opportunity, if I had the wisdom, or if I had the foresight, I would like to have the finest company in the world in my portfolio, which will do the best, which will deliver me the best returns over the foreseeable future of my investment. And if they happen to be international companies, or if they happen to be Indian companies, that should be the only. I will follow a very merited, but I don't have that foresight. And there are also psychology which is at work, which is, we have a home bias. We know our companies or our funds much better. Also, India is not a disappointing market. The kind of growth rates that we see, the way Indian, global investors are coming to India for a different kind of, the size of the market, the growth of the market, changing dynamics, that presents a different opportunity. So take your call. But take a concerted, take concerted steps to have some part of it. If you are getting started, maybe ignore it. But if you have done it for 4 or 5 years, have 10% to 10 to 25%. If you are able to spot 1 or 2 such great funds, maybe it can well be 20, 30%, 40%.
Okay. So give it a try, as Zareen is saying.
It's not a try. It should be a concerted allocation, because it's not something which you try out. Investment must be long term.
Okay.
It must be done, but building this thought process, believing in it, takes time.
So it's part of your diversification of your portfolio.
Yes, and I think it's a very important diversification which people should have.
Okay.